and there's just it's just so amazing how deep it goes, and like when you lift up one rock, you find something else under there that you need to start looking into. Because with the giant thing, there was actually a sighting of a Bigfoot near Chelsea that was said to have like red hair, like a reddish hair. When you start looking into giant lore and everything, you start finding stories about giants having red hair. Uh, and this thing was said to be about 12 or 13 feet tall,
Well,
which pretty
they're
massive.
finding giant arrowheads. I mean, like true, the size that would be used for giants.
Mm-hmm.
And tools and weaponry of that nature, and bones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah, from North Carolina down, and that is pretty interesting. I recently had Mary Joyce from SkyshipsOverCashiers.com on with me, and she was reporting that this woman was just working in her garden and was digging up these like gigantic, huge, gigantic, I guess gigantic is a great word for that, right? Tools, arrowheads that they could have used for digging or weaponry. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's not that far. And if you consider that the Cherokee came through North Alabama on the Trail of Tears coming from that area, is it not possible that maybe the giants were coming to protect them?
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
And yeah, I don't either. And who knows what has been covered up, or what kind of like history we don't know about that's happened. I don't know. I mean, when you start getting into the cover-ups and everything, people say, well, why would the government want to cover up Bigfoot or anything like that? And one reason I've heard a lot of people talk about is that about the logging industry being completely shut down because of these things are real, and that's their habitat out in the woods and everything. And I thought that was interesting to think about, because there's like a story about this certain owl that in California that they found was not extinct, and then they had to shut down like a huge operation, that was making a ton of money. Um, so you have things like that, and then I started noticing over near Alabama Adventure, where people are having sightings, that the logging people had started to come in and
Right?
started, and I was like, that's interesting. I wonder. I mean, I know they're just doing their job and everything, but who knows? Uh, I would like to see. I love the forest and everything, so I'm definitely all about preserving those places, and you know, I'm glad we at least have certain parks and things that can't be touched. But
Until
when
they
you,
want to.
well, yeah, that too. Uh, but I mean, yeah, it's just some amazing stuff. And when you actually start, like I find it so interesting that people will come to me and they'll say, I've lived in Alabama for 25 years and I've never heard stories about this, so it's not real or something like that. And I'm like, well, I had to do a little digging myself, but once I did, I found that so many different people all over the state were having these different experiences and sightings with these things. And it's like there's definitely something going on. And
Well, it can't. I mean, it can't just be nothing. There's too
yeah,
many, and it's
yeah,
too
it's like,
diverse. The kind of people who are seeing it are from all walks of life. The
yep,
the animals or creatures themselves don't vary that much in the description, especially the bipeds.
yeah, exactly. Well,
And it's just it's like ghosts. You don't have to believe in them. They'll educate you.
that's another thing. A lot of people that are, I've found that a lot of people that are super skeptical have, there's a lot of people that have been changed from having a sighting, and they'll tell you, they're like, I did not believe at all. I was like the most skeptical person, and then I saw this with my own eyes. saw something that I'm not that's not supposed to be real, and they either become obsessed with it and they want to research it, or it terrifies them and they don't want to talk about it. And so, and like you said, different. I'm talking people like young people all the way up to people in a nursing home, elders, people who, and religious people, not non-religious people, all different kinds of people have seen these things. Law enforcement, which, from what I have heard from people that were involved with law enforcement, that usually that kind of stuff, they don't like to talk about that kind of stuff. A lot of people might ridicule you or joke about it or make fun of you if you claim to have seen something like this. So that's another reason why you might not find much online, as opposed to actually going out and going to these small towns and meeting people and talking to people. That's where the best stories are, in my opinion.
Well, if you're in a small town and you're talking to someone, then if they were willing to come forward with that, they're already comfortable with it.
Yeah.
They're sure of what they experienced. Because small town living is tough living sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, people can really make a mockery of you. And Siri Paranormal said that the grandma lived in Coleman and Mobile and would tell them a lot of stories of Bigfoot and of the ghost of the woods. So, the elders are just really great sources, like you said.
Yep. Yeah,
And
it's valuable to have them and to listen to their stories.
they're so underrated, the
Totally.
elderly.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than sitting down and listening to an elder tell their stories, because they're just so amazing. You'll learn so much, and like I said, some of these towns, literally the elders have stories from the early 1900s and down, about these things, and it's just like it'll blow you away, especially when someone who hasn't heard of things like this, being in Alabama specifically, when really I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that Alabama is underrated for the amount of Bigfoot activity we actually have, and it doesn't get out there that much, really.
Well, I think that people here, like the elders, are highly underrated.
Yeah.
It's like, because we talk different, because we live different, because some of our history was rocky, to say the least, we're just kind of written off. And I know that I have actually met so many people like you that I know to be honest and trustworthy, great investigators, lots of good information to share. And yet, at all of these national conferences and stuff, very few people from here are invited. That's why I think it was such a nifty thing that there was a conference that y'all were, going to. I can't do it. I'm supposed to have a table and I can't do it. But I just think it's going to be an interesting thing, as some of the stuff, like you with your documentary, are just kind of exploding onto the fore, as it were.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people here who are doing things that are being noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be from New England or California or, wherever, to be an experienced investigator, to have the knowledge, to be able to create your own methodologies and tools, and to be able to gather excellent research and evidence. We do it too.
Exactly. Alabama, as a whole, I mean, I love Alabama. We've got so much like wild stuff going on, uh, like with the paranormal, and like you said, so many great investigators and just incredibly intelligent people. Like Frank is like such an awesome investigator, like
Oh man,
Frank
yes
Lee,
he is.
and I've learned a lot from him as well. And like, just it definitely needs to be, it's needs to be on the map for the paranormal.
Well,
And I would like to see more uh, historic locations, be properly taken care of and preserved, which is something that I'm going to be working on over the next few years, at least acquiring one. I mean, I already live in a 116-year-old house that we are doing our best to, preserve and take care of, uh, and there's some great ones out there, like like Sloss Furnace and the
oh
Drish
yeah.
House, and uh, that one that we went to up in Huntsville with Kim. I can't remember the name of it. The Lowry House. That was
Hmm.
really cool. Um, so you have great investigators, great locations. Have you been to the Old Poly Jail? And
I have not been down there.
that's another really cool spot in Union Springs.
Yes.
And the lady who runs that's super nice. And but yeah, like Alabama's definitely got it definitely has the rocky past, like you said, and but there's a lot of great people here too, a lot of great locations, beautiful, scenery. All we have a little bit of everything, swamps and forests and smaller mountains, but we still
And
have a few,
beaches.
and beaches too. A little bit of everything.
We do. You start at the top and work your way down to you swimming.
Yeah, and you know when you go from the forest and you see like something like a swamp, it's it's really cool to see it all in the same state, and then the different legends and lore that come with those different places. Like one of my favorite spots is Bear Creek Swamp down
Oh
in
yeah.
Prattville, which has all kinds of stories. You got Bigfoot legends, you got uh, stories about the waters having magical and medicinal properties. That the Native Americans that lived in the area, believed in that. And I was actually doing an ITC session with, I had my spirit box and I had it hooked into the gateway device, which is the device I had at that library talk we had with Kim.
Hmm.
And basically, what the gateway is Eric from Epic Paranormal designed it. It's basically reverses everything that's coming through the spirit box and it cleans it up a little bit with noise gate, and then it adds a little bit of reverb to it, and then it also adds a little bit of echo. And I was doing a session with that, and I asked about the waters being magical, and literally it says uh, magical back to me, which was like crazy. uh, so I actually have a little bit of Bear Creek swamp water that I keep just in like a glass bottle. I don't drink it or anything, of course, but I just keep it as like a souvenir.
That's a great
Uh,
souvenir.
yeah, and so I mean, Alabama's just full of all kinds of great lore and history and and mysteries as well that a lot of people haven't heard of.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we get to explore them all the time and like, sloss is free during the day.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's what is the most active. Frank even just put that in the chat room, which by
Yeah.
the way, Frank's in chat, but it's just, you can see the activity. I have footage of steps walking through, footsteps walking away from a camera I forgot I even had in there, walking away
Wow.
from the camera through the puddles down in the tunnel.
Yeah.
So, and it was really obvious that it was foot, because you could see the motion of the foot going in the water and then the drips.
That's incredible.
And the drips did not come from high up, they came from low. So, I'll have to find that. It was, it's a camera I'd set up and just forgot about.